Hello, everybody. It is now 12 o'clock on Friday the 27th. Why is this day special? Because my partner Joan's birthday is today. I won't say how old she is because they say that women don't like that. But anyway, here we are back on YouTube Live. This was not a scheduled live video chat, so I have no idea if anybody's going to tune in. But, you know, usually somebody is by the channel. Anyway, another sunny day in Portland. Can you believe it? The fall colors are amazing. I just went on a 25-mile bike ride yesterday, and it was really good, up to a place called Council Crest. Didn't quite make it up there, but it was what's called the West Hills of Portland, about 1,400 feet climbing all told. So I'm going to take a break today, although I will take a walk after this video chat. Well, I wanted to start by talking about an upcoming video that's being released on Monday, October 30th. It's called, Does Exercise Really Heal Anxiety? I actually did a workshop called Does Exercise Really Heal Depression? And the answer obviously is yes. I quoted all these studies plus my own personal experience. Well, what does exercise do? It basically grows new brain cells. It's called neurogenesis. And this actually is why people feel better actually when they take antidepressants. They do the same thing. They used to think that there was only a certain amount of brain cells you had available, and that as they died, you had less and less and less. But now new science talks about something called neuroplasticity in the brain, which means that the brain can adapt, change, and even grow new nerve cells, something that was previously thought to be impossible. Hey, how are you doing, says Matt Miller, one of my viewers. I'm doing well. Again, as long as the sun is out in Portland, Oregon in late October, how can things be too bad? So, as I was saying, this whole idea about the brain being neuroplastic, by the way, Matt, ask any questions you want, or anybody else is tuning in. And so the brain can change, the brain can grow, the brain can adapt. This is why people can get over strokes. So in terms of anxiety, it's the same thing. Now, how did I kind of get a hold on this? Well, it started way back in high school before my first depressive episode hit, before I even knew what depression was, before I even majored in psychology. And that is that I had a good friend named Stuart. He's still my friend. I helped raise his godson, and he lives in Portland, Oregon with me. And we were studying for a very difficult chemistry test. He was feeling a lot of anxiety. And is gabapentin a mood stabilizer? Yes, it is. It's a mood stabilizer. It also helps with sleep and also helps with chronic pain. There are many of these drugs that have what are called off-label uses. They're originally developed for one thing, and they turn out to work for a number of things, like Seroquel, antipsychotic, used for sleep, used for mood stability, and now I even hear it's used for depression. Can you believe it? Why would something that kind of puts you to sleep as a horse tranquilizer be good for depression? Well, my nurse practitioner said it acts on certain areas of the brain that relieve depression. So, yeah. Hey, my dad takes gabapentin for diabetic neuropathy. Thank you, Danielle. That's exactly what it's used for pain. Excellent point. Nice seeing you, Douglas, says D-Fine. Well, the same people keep popping up. You must be hanging out and looking at my channel obsessively. Great. More the merrier, right? Anyway, so my friend Stuart was pacing back and forth. He couldn't sit still. He couldn't concentrate on chemistry, which, as you know, is a very difficult subject. So he said, I'm getting up. I'm going for a neurotic walk. The word neurotic and neurosis was a very, very popular term in the 1960s in the world of psychology. Thank you, Doug, for your best, says Matt. Anyway, he got up and he walked out of the room. I said, where are you going? I'm going for my neurotic walk. I'm going to go walk around the neighborhood. I'm going to do about 15 blocks around my house. Then I'll be calmed down. Then I can come back and I can study and focus on this test. And that's exactly what he did. And so, age 17, right? I won't even say how many years ago. Anyway, for decades and decades, Stuart would go on his neurotic walk. Oh, I take walks when I feel anxiety. It does help a bit, says Penelope K. Yeah, thank you for that feedback. It does help a bit. Actually, the more intense the aerobic exercise, the better it is for anxiety. Case in point, let's flash forward from 1967 to 1996, when I took SSRI antidepressant. I won't say what it was. I don't want to prejudice people about it, but you can read about it in my book, Healing from Depression. And it gave me something called akathisia, a video I just did. I think it was not this week, but the previous week. It was called The Deadly Side Effect of Antidepressants. And we talked about this adverse reaction that many people have. Going for a walk with just socks on pavement helps me. Thank you, Danielle. Excellent point. I don't know why the socks on the pavement helps, but everything is about trial and error. Everything is about finding out what works. Anyway, when I took this medication, akathisia means the inner compulsion to move, or an inner restlessness. It comes from the Greek, which means literally the inability to sit still. So what you have is you feel this compulsion. You're fidgety. You can't see my legs. Maybe I'll. No. Will this work? My legs move up and down. So it's horrible. You can't sit still. You can't be calm. You have to get up. You have to pace. Is what you have to do. You have to pace back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then you feel like you're jumping out of your skin. So I was going through one of these episodes, and I called my old friend Teresa from the days in Eugene, Oregon. Hello, Eugene. Maybe someone's watching from Eugene, maybe not. But anyway, I called Teresa, and she was a nurse practitioner now working at OHSU here in Portland, Oregon, Oregon Health Sciences University, a very good school, great research. They did the original research on light therapy. Of course, we live in Portland. What is light therapy? You use light boxes during the winter when you don't have enough sun. How are you today, says Greg? Doing well. My nephew says I'm doing good. It drives me nuts, right? Because I come from the old school where, well is an adverb and good is an adjective. So I'm doing well. My day is going well. Not my day is going good, but all you millennials out there don't know the difference. I tell him if he makes one more of those mistakes, he's going to have to go to dinner without bed. That's what my mother did to me. That's how I learned grammar. Anyway, Teresa says on the phone, the only way you're going to burn up those agitating chemicals is to get out and move. And the more intensely you move, the better. That's what it's going to take. So I called a friend of mine. She drove me over to Matt Dishman Community Center, right down the street here in Northeast Portland. I hopped in the pool. I was a swimmer back then. I don't do it now. It's been replaced by bicycling. And I just started to swim. I wasn't swimming for my health. I was swimming for my life. And I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to get into a rhythm as I was doing lap after lap. And then I think I start to use an affirmation like, I am healing, I am healing, I am whole. Defines as my anxiety is difficult off at the moment. I have a difficult situation coming up at the end of the month. I keep going around in circles, no conclusion, can't make decisions. I'm meditating to cope. Wow, in America, who knows what an adverb is? Yes, Wanda, you must come from England or Great Britain or the UK. What do you call it, the UK? So anyway, if you have something coming up at the end of the month, define. Nice to know your first name. I hope it's David, but any name is good. Anyway, what you have to do is anytime you start to obsessively worry about it or be anxious about it, you need to change your thinking and say an affirmation like, things will go well, all will work out. And then maybe do some deep breathing. Mick, okay? Mick, thank you. You have to do that and basically use paced breathing, use positive affirmations and self-talk, and use something called the cold water technique. What can I do to beat the indifference? Is that because you're depressed? Because if you're depressed, you're indifferent. What you can do is treat the depression and the indifference will go away. Or try to find something you really like and feel passionate about, which is sort of oxymoron when you're depressed. Canadians are the ones building the wall now to keep Americans out. Laugh out loud, right? So anyway, so cold water, there's something called dialectical behavioral therapy, also known as DBT, and they give this really strange idea of if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling agitated, if you're worrying about the future, fill a sink with cold water, hold your breath, and then put your face in. Hold your breath. Anyway, that basically activates something called the dive response, named after divers who go down, plunge into the water, and have to hold their breath, lest they swallow water and drown, right? But anyway, holding your breath underwater seems to activate something called the parasympathetic nervous system, or in lay terms, the relaxation response, and it calms the nervous system. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I've gotten feedback from readers and viewers and friends and it works. The other option is to take a cold shower. Dorothy, hey, Douglas, nice to see you. Live chat on Friday. Was just checking to let you know although things aren't great, I'm still here and have posted mantra, this too shall pass, everywhere. Dorothy was on our live chat on Sunday. It was, that was, 5 days ago, and she was going through a really difficult time. And what I really loved about that chat is all you viewers were giving Dorothy support and love and really giving her encouragement that she could get better. And this is exactly what happens in my depression support groups, because I'm going to say this once, and I'm going to say it 1,000 times. We cannot get better in isolation. I'll repeat that. We cannot get better in isolation. We need support, we need each other, and we need community. Healing does not happen in isolation. And the healing power of love is the greatest force on earth. I did a video called Love Can Heal Your Brain. One of my new subscribers just saw that the other day. It brought tears to her eyes. It's about how my partner Joan really helped me out when I was going through a really bad time. Hey, April, Amanda says, I can't seem to get rid of immense guilt. I know my anxiety makes it worse, which makes my anxiety worse. Been forgiven for my mistakes. I can't just seem to forgive myself. Amanda, I just did a video about a couple of months ago. Go to my YouTube channel and type in forgive yourself for your mistakes. It'll pop right up. Self-forgiveness is often harder. It's harder to forgive ourselves than it is to other people. It's really, really tough. So in this video, I give some good tips that I've learned from my 50 years of depression recovery, anxiety recovery, my 2 degrees in psychology, all the experience I've had professionally, clinically. I'm not trying to, boost myself up by rambling like this and all these things I've gone through. But yeah, experience is something that everyone gives to their mistakes, said Oscar Wilde. Anyway, one thing that I've learned about self-forgiveness is a mantra or an affirmation that I learned from a woman named Susan Gilmore at the University of Oregon many, many years ago when I was in graduate school. And she said this, and I've never seen anything that would contradict it. She says, everybody is doing the best that they can at this moment with the awareness they had, with the awareness they have at that moment. So everybody is doing the best they can with the awareness they have at any given moment. So think about it. If you knew then what you know now, you would not have made those same mistakes. If you, with the awareness you have now, you can go look back. It's called 20/20 hindsight. Of course I was stupid. Of course I shouldn't have said that to the person. Of course I shouldn't have invested in that stock or that mutual fund, or I shouldn't have made that decision. But back then, you had limited awareness. So you were just doing the best that you could, and that's why you need to forgive yourself. Oh, how do you spell? Well, I can't tell you how to pronounce your name, Rayadu, because we're not speaking to each other. But nice to hear from you too. I take it you're from India, and if that's the case, it's probably about 12:45 a.m. I'm the same, feeling guilty about everything as part of depression. I feel a bit better. Yeah, well, one of the 7 symptoms of depression is low self-esteem or inappropriate guilt. I can't thank everyone enough for all the love sent to me. It really helped. Hey Dorothy, if you go post a comment on this video after it's uploaded, then people will be able to respond to your comment. Or if you post your email address, better yet, people can email you. Hey John, I just heard from you by email. Hi Douglas, hi fellow viewers. How do we distinguish between introspection, taking time to heal, and being stuck in an extended episode? Well, everybody needs introspection. I mean, obviously, part of being human is self-reflection. I have something which I haven't done a video on yet called the 5-minute check-in. Every day, at least once or twice, you should sit down, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, and ask yourself, how am I doing? What do I need right now? And, how can I get it? Just check on how you're doing. A lot of times people may be feeling uptight, or they might have muscle tension. They're not even aware of it. So introspection is good, but that's different than depression, because with depression, you isolate more than just a couple of minutes or even an hour a day. It goes on extended periods of time, and you do it to avoid contact with people or for procrastination, where introspection is something you choose to do because you want to go in and connect with that still small voice, or just be alone and just, chill out. So there's a big difference between being introspective and isolating in terms of depression. Did you hear about homeopathy? Yes, of course. I studied homeopathy when I was in going to chiropractic school, naturopathic school. It's very, very, thank you, says John. Homeopathy, in case you don't know it, is something, it's an old method of treatment. It was came upon in Germany in the 1800s by a guy named Hahnemann, and I'm not quite pronouncing his name, I don't think so, but it was discovered by a German guy, and it's based on this principle called like cures like. So the very substance that will cause symptoms in large doses will heal those same symptoms in small doses. At the turn of the century, at around 1900, there were more homeopaths in the United States than medical doctors, but the AMA got control of the medical schools, and eventually homeopathy became out of fashion. The only people who practice it are naturopaths in America, but it's very well practiced in England and in India. The Queen of England actually has a homeopath. So some people I know in Portland, Oregon, use homeopathy to treat depression and even schizophrenia, but it's very, very esoteric practice. It's really hard to master, and the results are mixed, but for some people they work, like everything else. I'm going to have my hot chocolate here. So yeah, in terms of all the questions on guilt, self-forgiveness is really hard. You know, in my video on Be Kind to Yourself, which is really similar to the forgiveness video, I said that people often treat themselves worse than they would treat their worst enemies. So we have to really, as part of depression, we have to let go of this self-condemnation and self-criticism. It's really important that we do that as much as we can. So getting back to my anxiety topic, which we started out with until I get some more questions. So I would go ahead and swim at a count of 4. Moore says, why does it take so long to recover from depression and anxiety? Why is depression disease with repetitions? Oh, the $64,000 question. Depression is a chronic relapsing condition, just like addiction. I can't seem to focus and look for work despite being basically unemployed and broke. What gives? Well, looking for work is really, really difficult in the first place. Healthy people have a hard time. When you're low mood, it's really difficult. Is it normal for loved ones, says D. Obits, contact you after disappointed for months due to depression and not to address or even talk about their disappearance? No, they really shouldn't just talk about your disappearance. You know, bring it up. Say I was having a hard time. Part of what happens when you're depressed is you drop out of sight. So try to engage in the dialogue. I want to get back to the question about, you know, why is depression so hard to get over? Because the brain does not heal overnight, and we still don't really know what's going on in the brain, so we haven't really been able to target cures that are quick and effective. And it's relapsing because just like alcoholism is relapsing or drug addiction, once you become vulnerable to depression, there's a part of your brain, the left prefrontal cortex, that when you're under stress, it can get dysregulated again, and there can be low activity and high activity in the right prefrontal cortex. I know it sounds technical, but I was just answering this question by an email from one of my clients. And so the point being is that stress will trigger relapse. It'll trigger relapse in cancer, it'll trigger relapse in heart disease, and alcoholism, addiction, and depression. So depression does come back again, but if you use the tools that we talk about in the channel, that I talk about in my book, hey, this is a good time for an advertisement. Where's my book? Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood. I wrote this in 2001 after my memoir, When Going Through Hell Nonstop, and it has everything I know about how to heal depression holistically. We talk about medication in the book, but the primary focus on the book is a body, mind, spirit recovery program. So it's really cheap. You can get it for $9.99 on Kindle and $15 on softcover paperback at Amazon.com. It was called, when it first came out, A Lifeline to Healing. It's 17 years old, but it's still, everything in there, I would not change a single word. So yeah, let me see some of the questions I might have missed. I have a lot of mood stings. Any mood stabilizers you might suggest? Do salt lamps and essential oils help? I was given both back in April. Yeah, essential oils, I mean, the smell is a powerful, powerful, powerful sense that we have. And a lot of people use aromatherapy. I'm not quite sure what salt lamps are, but aromatherapy can be very helpful. I think lavender specifically heals anxiety. Hey, we got to go back to these old naturopathic techniques. Some of them really work well. Okay, I have to touch the iPad. I'm getting a new computer today, by the way. Mood swings, says Ryudu. I think I'm Ryudu. Yeah, well, yes, you need a mood stabilizer. The go-to one originally for 50 years, when there was nothing else, or 40 years, was lithium, a natural salt in the earth. You know that the New York Times came out with an article. I need to do a video on this. Please remind me. It's called "Should We All Be Taking a Bit of Lithium?" Because they find that in places where lithium content in water is just naturally high, there's less suicide. There's a place in Ashland, Oregon called Lithia Springs, which has a ton of lithium. But yes, lithium is an amazing mood stabilizer, but since then they've come up with others called Depakote and gabapentin and Lamictal and Topamax and a whole host of others, Geodon. So the answer to your question, which is the good one? The one that works. And how do you know the one that works? Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. You have to just keep taking them and talking to your prescriber and trying stuff out. Lamictal is a very, very popular one right now, Lamictal, and you might want to try that. But yes, I have a client who had bipolar disorder untreated, was just having horrible anxiety, horrible depression. She finally got on lithium and made a world of difference. K. Redfield Jameson wrote the classic book about manic depression called An Unquiet Mind. For those of you who like to read, I highly recommend that book. Did you hear about the Himalayan pink salt? No. Why don't you explain it to me in this chat, or why don't you simply write me an email? Here we are, folks. I'll answer any questions, douglasblock@gmail.com. I'm not that famous yet. When I get famous, I'll have to hire you as one of my assistants, as long as you speak English correctly. Remember, I'm doing well, not I'm doing good. Hey, it's time for a joke. Okay. What do we have here? Why did the vampire get fired from his job? Oh, actually, why did the vampire get fired from the blood bank? That was a question. He was caught drinking on the job. I like that. Not too bad. Why didn't the scarecrow eat dinner? He was stuffed. Don't you love puns? A big smile for more gold. I had some other ones written down. I think I got the wrong paper. Let me see. Well, oh well. Those are two good ones for right now. I have one about art history, but I'll save that to a little later to keep you guys all engaged in this video. So, I was swimming. I am healing. I am healing. I am whole. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And after about an hour of doing this, probably at least a mile of swimming, I hopped in the hot tub next to the pool at this community center, and for the first time all morning, I actually felt some peace. Believe it or not, I had to do that virtually every day for 9 months until the depression and anxiety lifted. So that's how I got hip to the fact that anxiety can heal depression. Now, whenever I feel a little bit agitated or worried, I just hop on my bike and go up to Rocky Butte. I've only mentioned that hundreds of times on these videos, and I start to feel better. So, what is the science behind this? Why is exercise so effective for healing from anxiety? Well, I did a video called How to Rewire Your Anxious Brain that's been very popular. And I mentioned that there are two circuits, brain circuits, that are responsible for anxiety. By the way, this comes from a book called Rewire Your Anxious Brain, a very, very good book. I have a picture of it in the video. So there are two circuits. One is called the cortex, which is the thinking brain, which is right up here. And that controls, Daniel says, wondering how many people have pets that aren't official therapy animals but took the role automatically when you got depressed. Well, yes, Danielle, I cannot tell you how many people in my group, it's probably a good 30%, maybe 40, have their pets serve as major, major therapeutic influences in their lives. One gal just came to my group, she's got 4 dogs. You know, one's a lot, 4 is a lot. But they help her tremendously. Another person's got a dog brings to group, or has tried that, and until my cat peed on the floor in rebellion. By the way, my cat, Bruce, I did a video called Bruce, the Cat Who Heals Depression. Many people will look at him and say, that's the ugliest cat I've ever seen. Bruce, you around? Oh, he's sitting outside in the sun. Oh well. But Bruce is a tremendous balm and mood improver for myself and my partner Joan. We love Bruce, and we dote over him, and he's like a child, like many pets are. So yes, animals are sentient beings. We are animals, believe it or not. Kurt Vonnegut, the brilliant, brilliant writer, you should read a book called Cat's Cradle by him. He called human beings smart monkeys. How many of the folks on the migraine support group on Facebook have animals? Very simpatico. Oh, many, many of them. I got it. Bruce is adorable. Oh, do squirrels have souls? Hi, Doug. Your video is Michael from UK. My dog runs to my side when she hears me cry. Just lies by my side. Yeah, Amanda, excellent. Do squirrels have souls? That's an amazing question. My lovely goddaughter, Amy May, who I hope to get on one of these videos, she's in Mexico right now, took a class at the Catholic high school she was going to. And in the religion class, the instructor said, animals don't have souls. Hi, Greg, nice to hear from you. And she objected. She had this wonderful dog named Bailey, who she loved tremendously. What's your advice on long-term breakups? Oh my God. Go to grief groups. Squirrels do have souls. Says, yeah, I agree. So anyway, yeah. So she argued with the religion teacher. Yes, they do have souls. How can you say that? And it led to a big brouhaha, got in trouble, but, it's okay. Dissent, that's a good thing, right? That's where we're in America, freedom of press, freedom of speech. So do animals have souls? I don't know. But I do know that they are sentient beings, and they have feelings, and they react, and they're conscious beings, and to hurt any animal is a sin, just as like hurting any human. My pet squirrel spat back stuff and died. I don't know why. Squirrels must have nuts. Hello, squirrels are nuts. By the way, there's a lot of stigma about mental illness, horrible stigma. And I talk about this in many of my videos. Plants have souls too, says Danielle. So there was a big fire in a New Jersey psychiatric hospital. And the next day, the local paper ran a headline, "Roasted Nuts." Isn't that horrible? I mean, it's kind of a funny pun, but the National Alliance on Mental Illness demanded an apology, and they got it. Hey, Julie Hayes, hello. Wow, it's great to hear from you. Some of the people who write me and do emails, I feel like we're one big depressed family here. Raina, again, hello again. I was wondering if there was any specific ways to combat anhedonia as a symptom of depression that you know of. Yeah, roasted nuts, some humor, right. My dog saved my life daily. I'm suicidal depressed since 2005. Hi, Kathleen. I stay alive and love and care for them. See, I'm right about animals. They are a lifeline to healing. Anhedonia is the classic symptom of depression. The way to treat it is the way you treat depression. Diet, exercise, sleep, antidepressants if they work, spirituality, prayer. I actually suggested to a really depressed person that he eat some chocolate ice cream. That'll get the dopamine going right up here. That'll get the brain sensors. Some people use methamphetamine and cocaine because it works on the pleasure centers. Sigmund Freud thought that cocaine was the cure for depression. But I see Dorothy posted above. Good to see you. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but there's only one problem with cocaine and methamphetamine and all the stimulants. What goes up must come down. Yes, ice cream. So, yeah, if only they lasted, if only they didn't have the negative side effects or negative consequences. But I can see why people try these substances. Ice cream, on the other hand, all you have to do is just pay the dentist a lot of money and you're fine. So, but in answer to the question on anhedonia, the inability to experience pleasure, hedonia from hedonism, try to think of yourself, what is something that could be fun or might be fun or something that used to be fun? If you send me your email address, write me at douglasblock@gmail.com, any of you, I will send you a free chart from my book called Pleasurable Activities That Cure Anhedonia. What about marijuana, says Wanda Presley? Well, again, some people use marijuana, especially for anxiety. One of the people in my group uses it for ADHD. More benign than cocaine or methamphetamine, but still for some people it causes a lot of paranoia and anxiety. So, it's legal here in Oregon, so a lot of people use it, but I'd say that's a little bit questionable. Does anhedonia pass with the episode? Of course. Chris, when the episode goes away, so does anhedonia. So, douglasblog@gmail.com, I will send you a list of 50 pleasurable activities to do when you're depressed, or things that could activate the pleasure centers. Chatting with a friend, having a good dinner, going to a movie. There are a number of things on this list. Closing your eyes and listening to some of your favorite music. I find that when I'm up and feeling low, I'll get on my stationary bike and I will put on Stevie Wonder. If the weather is crummy outside and I can't go outside, I'll put on Stevie Wonder, and that'll basically do it. My calendar is telling me to take psyllium husks today. Well, how do I get rid of that thing up there? I guess you can't see it. I can, so I just got rid of it. Notifications, aren't they obnoxious sometimes? Anyway, pleasurable activities. I know, when do you people go ahead and text me? Text me. Tell me a pleasurable activity that you do, something that you like to do or have liked to do. Would love to build online community here in the UK. We'll post my email address after live chat, so many people there willing to give support. That's a great idea. I have a number of clients, Dorothy, who live in the UK. So if you basically bushwalking, I'm not quite sure what that's. Oh, that's a pleasurable activity, Dorothy. If you post your email address, I'll put you in contact with at least 3 other people I know in the UK, and you guys can start your online support group. Excellent idea. There are also chat groups out there that I've never been to, but I think the same thing. They already exist. Well, it's 30 minutes into this our chat. 30 more to go, but time for a commercial break. 2 things. One is I mentioned my book. There's also something called Super Chat in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. I basically do this as a mission to help people. If you want to contribute to this particular work that we're all benefiting from, you can go ahead and click on the Super Chat button. You can make a small donation. Many people have donated $2, half the price of a cup of coffee here in America, and your question will go to the top of the priority list. And other little advertisement is that I do long distance coaching. I have actually 1 or 2 clients in the UK over the phone or Skype or FaceTime or WhatsApp. And usually what that means is you simply follow the 12-week program in my book, Healing from Depression, and we do 1 week at a time, go over the chapters, go over the homework, and by the end of the 12 weeks, people do report that their mood is better. How much better? No one can tell, because no one can tell how long it takes to get over depression, but it does happen. It is episodic, and this too shall pass. All right, any other questions here? My biggest problem is working out first step for work or courses. You mean taking the first, looking for Mamie, are you on this chat? I don't see Mamie. She's going to be here for 12 noon on Sunday because I advertise it. By the way, at the beginning of all my future videos, which post every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to have a schedule. My goal is to be on YouTube 6 days a week with live video chats. I'm going to do a series of videos on healing affirmations and spiritual quotations. So it'll be like, tuning on to your favorite television channel, right? I remember when I was growing up, I used to tune on to CBS here in America. What did I watch? Gunsmoke and Have Gun Will Travel, and I guess The Outer Limits was on ABC. But anyway, you have your old favorite television channel back in the old days when there were just 3 network channels. So the Depression Recovery Channel, every day you'll be able to tune in, and for 10 minutes or less, in some cases even 3 minutes, you'll be able to find something uplifting and enlightening, and something that will really help you escape from your depression. Bonanza, yes, of course. Hey, Wanda, you must be my age. How do you donate? Please post how to do that when you get a new computer. Well, Dorothy, you can donate right now. Don't you see the Super Chat button on this video in your lower right-hand corner? Click on Super Chat, and you can donate right now. If you can't find it, let me know. I mean, I can't see it. I'm here looking at the camera, but I've been on other people's videos, and I've seen the Super Chat button. It should be on your screen somewhere. If not, man, I've had veophobia my whole life since I was 18. I've never had a driver's license. Well, there are ways to get over phobias. Generally, how long does an episode last? How long was my last one, Chris? It went from July of 2014 to January 2016, 18 months. That's about how mine usually lasts, but other people only last a couple of months. Hey, hey, Mamie, you're on. Someone was asking about you just like 2 minutes ago. Yeah, I decided to do something surprising and do a live chat on Friday. Normally it's Wednesdays at 11 and Sundays at noon Pacific time, but I just decided I wanted to do one because I like them so much. So anyway, yeah, what was the question I was basically answering? Oh yeah, veophobia. Yeah, I know. And Chris, did that answer your question about depression? It's really hard to predict. They can last anywhere between 2 months and maybe even 2 years. I know that sounds daunting, but they do pass. And if you go one day at a time and live one day at a time, you will get through it. Fear of driving cars. Anybody else have that? I know people who've never gotten their driver's license. Well, it's like all phobias. You basically approach it very, very in small steps. Go look up. Hey, Julie, I'm here, says Mamie. Yeah, connect with each other, you guys. Post some stuff on my video. Is lithium a good booster for antidepressants? Yes, that's says Andre. That's a lot of psychiatrists think that. I've never used it that way, but it's in the literature. So go look up how to overcome phobias. Go see a cognitive behavioral therapist or someone who specializes in anxiety. You can get over your fear of driving. Sounds like I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing 15 plus it looks kilometers a day of something while taking an SSRI. Well, Rennie, you are doing everything you can be doing. That's a great idea. So yeah, find someone who specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy and anxiety disorders, and you will basically be able to get through this fear of driving cars. Essentially, you have to expose yourself very slowly. Walk up to a car, sit in a car, turn on the ignition. And of course, we had in 1819, everybody in high school, everybody took driver's ed. What I would do is I would hire a driver's ed teacher to give you individual instruction. It can't be that expensive. And you can start out with something very simple, like just leaving your driveway and driving a block and coming back to your house. Small steps, baby steps. Hey, remember that film, What About Bob, with Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray? It's hysterical. Didn't take note of your email last time, says Julie Hayes, so maybe you should post it. Or if you guys both email me, I'll connect you with each other. DouglasBlock@gmail.com. Anyway, anybody see What About Bob? Really very funny movie. Nami didn't like it, but thought they were making fun of mentally ill people. But Bill Murray was brilliant as an overly anxious, obsessed person. Mamie Carson at hotmail.com. Pretty easy to remember. Thank you for posting that. What about Bob? So do I. Love What About Bob, says Mamie. Yeah. My favorite movie of Bill Murray, by the way, is Groundhog Day. I mean, that was a sleeper of a movie. When it came out in '93, it got okay reviews. And now it's, I love Bill Murray. It's considered one of the greatest comedies of all time. And actually, it's actually considered a spiritual parable about transformation. There was SSRIs can be tough to get off of, so be prepared to wean over months or a year, says David. Yes, that's true. Especially Paxil, I've heard, is very difficult to get off, as well as Effexor. But we had somebody basically just get off of Celexa very, very, very slowly. Made fun of psychoanalysts more than Bob. You're absolutely right. It made fun of Richard Dreyfuss, who was really played a wonderful role as an uptight person. But, okay, what was I saying? Something about, baby steps. Right. So the person with the phobia about the cars, you can overcome it. I'm trying to get off of Paxil, says David. Well, good luck. Just do it in microdoses and work with a prescriber. But I've seen people get off of Paxil, Zoloft, Effexor, Prozac. Prozac has a long half-life. Actually, Prozac is one of the easiest SSRIs to get off of. So, so the person who's afraid of driving cars, veophobia, once you decide you want to do that, setting the intention to heal is everything. Once you make the decision that you want to get off of, learn how to drive a car, it will happen if it's important enough to you. How can we become stronger after our weakest being depressed? Well, there's a quotation by the great philosopher Nietzsche, which not everybody likes, but I like it. It's called "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." So, when people survive depressive episodes or go through dark nights of the soul, they often come back at a higher level of functioning than when they actually started. Are you on Facebook? Yeah, just put Douglas Block, Portland, Oregon. You can become a Facebook friend. Or you can basically send me a message to Facebook Messenger. I have a chapter here. Let me see if I can find it in my memoir. It's called After the Pain, the Joy. And I quote this guy, Julius Siegel, who's really a researcher and survivor. And he says that, hey, I got it right here. Okay, so check this out. He says, and I want you to hear all of this, and I will post it. I'll post it on this video on this video in the comments section after we're done. In a remarkable number of cases, those who have suffered and prevail find that after their ordeal, they begin to operate at a higher level than ever before. The terrible experiences of our lives, despite the pain they bring, may become our redemption. I'm going to say that again. The terrible experiences of our lives, despite the pain they bring, may become our redemption. Wow, that's a very heavy statement, and I have to say that my depressive episode of 1996-97 was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It's kind of like, Charles Dickens and Tale of Two Cities. These are the best of times and the worst of times. It was horrible in that it almost killed me, and I went through 18 months of unbearable suffering. You're the salt of the earth, Doug. Thanks for what you do. Got to go pick up my kiddo. Hey, children are a good reason to stay alive, don't you think? But yeah, it was the worst time of my life, this depressive episode. Pure hell. That's why I called my memoir When Going Through Hell, Don't Stop. By the way, if you email me, I'll send you a free PDF file, a free ebook of that memoir. douglasblock@gmail.com. Anyway, but look what happened on the other side after I came out of it. First of all, I wrote my book, Healing from Depression, another plug. Then I started the website, healingfromdepression.com, which many of you can go to, where I poured out my soul. Everything I know about depression recovery is on that website. Then I started sending out depression e-tip newsletters, which are also available through the website. Okay, so we have what happened. We have the book, we have the website, we have the newsletters. Oh, then I ran a support group, which is still going 17 years later, 2 of them. And then the 5th thing is I started this YouTube channel. 5 things came out of a nervous breakdown. I mean, who would have guessed? And here's the irony. If I hadn't gone through that nervous breakdown, if I hadn't experienced it, if I hadn't been suicidal, if I hadn't been at the end of my rope, if I hadn't been desperate, none of the good would have ever happened. No option for super chat on my mobile? Wow. That, I don't know how that can happen. But anyway, maybe if you go to healingfromdepression.com, there's a donate button. And you can click on that. And it's on all the pages. And also, pretty soon I'm going to be starting a Patreon website, which, as many of you know, is a way that artists like myself can be supported by monthly pledges as low as $1 a month. Can you believe it? I mean, I give $15 a month, Mercy Corps and Oregon Public Broadcasting. That's about my budget. But you could even become a member of the Patreon community for $1 a month. And starting at $3, you get special rewards like live chats and free books and stuff like that. Like drunks become gradual recovered alcoholics who help others. Yeah, Wanda, thank you. That is true. Bill Wilson said the most important thing we have. Well, who is Bill Wilson? Bill Wilson is a hero and a role model for me. I need to get a picture of him and put him on my wall right next to my computer. Anybody in recovery in the audience? Anybody recovering alcoholics or recovering drug addicts? So Bill Wilson is the guy who co-founded Alcoholics Anonymous with Dr. Bob Smith, talking about going to hell and back. Oh my goodness, you should watch and rent a movie called My Name is Bill W. He got what was his name? James Woods got an Emmy for that. It was on Showtime initially. Your attitude reminds me of a lot of Frankl's teaching. Yeah, Viktor Frankl was a huge influence on me. Man's Search for Meaning, another hero. But anyway, if you look at the movie My Name is Bill W, or you watch it, or you read the book called My Name is Bill by John Cheever's daughter, Susan Cheever, you will see that if anybody went to hell and back, it was him. I mean, it's hard to compare hells, right? We've all been in a hell of a fix, but he really went through hell. His alcoholism was so bad, he was near death so many times. Eventually, in a sanitarium, he cried out, "If there is a God, reveal himself to me." And this white light filled the room, and he never had the compulsion to drink again, or he never drank again. But he still had to figure out how to stay sober. And while on a business trip in Akron, Ohio, he felt himself faltering that he was going to go get a drink. He called around and found this guy named Bob Smith, another alcoholic. They met on June 1st, 1935, and spent all night talking about stories of their drinking days, and found that if they talked to each other, supported each other, embraced each other, they stopped drinking. And that's how AA started. So Bill Wilson would say, the greatest thing I have going for me in talking to other alcoholics, other drunks, to get them to adopt this program is my own experience in recovering from alcoholism. I am a wounded healer, and I guess that's what I would say about myself, a wounded healer in the area of depression. I mean, my God, there are many wounded healers. Anytime someone goes through an ordeal and they come out of it, like Anthony Robbins, the self-help writer, some of you may like him. I think he's really good, some may not. Now, he was financially destitute. When he found out how to overcome his financial limitations, then he became a self-help person, helping other people do the same thing. So anytime you overcome a challenge, you would then become a role model for someone else and who wants to do the same thing. So this is something that is very, very common in the human experience. Who else? Can we think of anybody else who? Oh, well, William Styron, who wrote the book Darkness Visible, who had to undergo his own hellish depression before he wrote that bestseller. By the way, today is the birthday not only of my partner Joan, but of Sylvia Plath. Some of you may remember her. She wrote a book called The Bell Jar, a memoir about depression, very, very, very famous. Unfortunately, like many people with severe depression, she ended up taking her own life, a real tragedy. Very talented woman, and The Bell Jar is now a classic in the field of depression literature. Well, we're 45 minutes into this video chat. I'm deciding whether, I usually do them between 45 minutes and an hour. I have a client, one of my long distance coaching clients I'm supposed to talk with around 1 or 1:15, so I may call it a day. It is the middle of the weekday. I know that Sundays and weekends are much better times to do this in terms of viewership. So, but you know, I just wanted to connect with some of you for some time today. It looks like I get to answer some of your questions and say hello. So, any final questions before you know, we move on, or I move on, and get on with the rest of my day? Don't call it a day, says Kay. Well, Kate, I can stay on for a little longer, but do you have any questions? I'd rather hear from you than hear myself talking. This is great. Thanks for the bonus session, says Wanda. Yeah, well, I think within a couple of weeks, I think I'm going to have Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Stick around, Doug, says Andre Levy. Okay, I'll stick around for maybe 5 more minutes. But yeah, I think I'll be doing these Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, every other day. And then on Monday, we'll have my regular my regular YouTube video. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to have videos on affirmations and quotations. So I hope to have something on 6 days out of the week. We have to take a rest on the Sabbath, right? I mean, come on. After God spent 6 days creating the world, he took a rest on the seventh. If it's good enough for him/her, good enough for us. I've been really lightheaded. Is that normal? Well, another joke, says Morgul. Okay, lightheadedness. That happens when people get panic attacks. If you're lightheaded, it means you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain. You should go like this and put your head between your knees. But many reasons can cause that. Anemia. Definitely check it out with doctor. Thank you, Doug from Israel. Wow. John Pointer says no alcohol, no caffeine, minimal sugar, lots of yoga, meditation, work at the gym. Wow, you're doing everything. I've been thinking of smoking marijuana to relieve depression. It's not legal in, well anyway, I tried to get that up again. I think not legal in Australia. Any thoughts? Well, marijuana is a double-edged sword. For some people it really helps, and for some people it can send them spiraling down. It is a medicine. I find it more usually helpful for anxiety. I can't take it anymore. I actually did a video, kind of a humorous video called Your Mind is a Battlefield, where I accidentally ate 2 marijuana cookies that were filled with 50 milligrams of THC. 1/4 was the normal dose. I've always found it helps, says Kay. Well, if marijuana helps and you know, you don't mind risking the possibility of getting busted or caught, it's probably very loosely enforced. Here we actually have dispensaries in Oregon. Can you believe it? And they have all these different strains of marijuana, and there's something called edibles where they put marijuana in the food. There's truffles, and there's cookies, and there's all sorts of ways to ingest it. You know that the state of Oregon collected $85 million in Oregon in taxes this year on marijuana? Is there a way to support the prefrontal cortex? Yeah, exercise. All this tools and strategies I talk about in my book will do that. Yeah, I've heard. I wish I was in Oregon, says Kate. Well, I have a friend who anxiety was exacerbated by marijuana. Not sure it's a good idea, says Andre. You see, one man's meat's another man's poison. So if Kate thinks that marijuana works, maybe he should try it. You are the best, says Adrian. Would you recommend any natural supplements? Sure, fish oil. We need omega-3 fatty acids to build myelin sheaths in our brain surrounding the nerves. It's been proven that omega-3s are necessary for brain health. Also, zinc is another really good supplement, and vitamin D. Also, some people find that 5-HT. I'm going to do a video called Natural Alternatives to Prozac. Supposed to be good for migraines, Wanda says. I don't know what you're referring to, but A lot of people have migraines and suffer from that. So I was discussing something that was important. Dorothy, use your inspiration, Douglas. You don't realize how much you help. I'm spreading the word. All right. Why don't you invite me to England? I love London. Marijuana can help people with migraines, says Wanda. Well, there you have it. You know, it's an old saying, if the shoe fits, wear it, right? I love that saying. You know, none of you were around when Nikita Khrushchev, who was the head of the Soviet Union in the 60s, who said to Americans, "We will bury you." That was actually an incorrect translation. He meant to say, "We will surpass you." Anyway, he had this basic habit. When he was really upset at the United Nations, he would take his shoe off. He would, bang it on the table. So someone once said, "Hey, Nikita, if the shoe fits, wear it." Very funny pun. Oh, a joke. That's right. What about a joke? Okay, so here's my art history joke. Does anybody know about famous painters? So when I was at New York University, I studied art history. I loved it. Do I drink because I'm depressed, or am I depressed because I drink? It's a vicious cycle. Yes, a lot of people who basically feel bad drinking, and then drinking is a natural depressant, so they feel worse, so one thing reinforces the other. We have a couple of members of my group who stopped drinking, and man, is their attitude changed. So do what you can, go to AA, that's the best way to do it. And is there a syndrome called depressive migraine? Never heard of it, David, but type it in the internet, see what comes up. This is a very important point that man made about drinking and depression. There's something called dual diagnosis. One of the main causes of panic attacks, says Andre, nobody knows, except something in your brain thinks that you're in life-threatening danger when you're not. A dysregulation in the amygdala. I have a video called How to Treat Panic Attacks you might want to look at. But yeah, the amygdala is the sentinel fear. It's a small gland in the center of the brain, and that's what gets dysregulated. People start to panic for no reason, but there are ways to treat it. I was just saying something. Was it about, depression and drinking? Right. Dual diagnosis. Yeah, that's a big problem for a lot of people. So yes, you're right. Depression makes you drink, and drinking makes you depressed. So best to find ways to moderate your drinking or stop altogether. Okay, so do you know why? Do you know what the art thief? People who steal paintings from museums. What he said after his car stalled 2 blocks from the Louvre, which is a famous art museum in Paris. What happens when it stopped and he got caught? What did he say? He said, let me see if I can remember. He said, "I shouldn't have just taken the Picassos. You see, I need the Monet to buy gas so I can make the Van Gogh." Here it is. "I need Monet to buy gas so I can make the Van Gogh." Oh my God. My wife thought it was cute. I got that from a fellow cyclist. So of course you have to know that, Monet and Van Gogh were 2 ridiculously famous painters. Wanda says, "Laugh out loud." Uh-oh, what's brown and sticky, says Kate. Ooh, I don't know. Brown sugar that you spill on the table. A stick. Oh, that was kind of strange. Dorothy says, "Laugh out loud." By the way, Mamie and Dorothy, sorry, says Kate. Have you guys exchanged email addresses yet? Dorothy, I think it was Dorothy and Mamie wanted to connect with each other, and someone wanted to start an online support group in the United Kingdom. Please, here we go again. douglasblock@gmail.com. Please, as I say, I still answer every single email, even if I have to stay up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Uh-oh. Watch it, Doug. Sleep hygiene. You got to get to bed the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day. So I go to bed around midnight, wake up around between 7:30 and 8, and that has helped me a tremendous amount. By the way, we need to do a whole live chat about insomnia. What a difficult problem it is for people with depression. Oh my goodness. So there are 2 kinds of insomnia. One is not being able to fall asleep, and the other is waking up and not being able to get back to sleep. The second one is the bigger problem I find. That people wake up at 3:30 in the morning, 4, and ruminate. Their mind goes around and around. They're anxious and they can't get back to sleep. Speaking of marijuana, I found something called CBD oil. CBD is the part of the hemp plant that is psychoactive. I watch TV and sleep on the couch, says one viewer. So CBD is used for pain and anxiety. It's perfectly legal. Is introversion related to psychological problems, Andre? Not necessarily. There are a lot of introverts who are really healthy, by the way. An introvert is someone who finds they are more sustained and nurtured by their own company than the company of other people. But too much introversion, like too much of anything, is a bad thing. We are social beings. We need to be connected to each other. So, yeah, introversion is a natural part of some people's temperament, but not to the exclusion of all human contact. That's being a hermit. So, CBD oil. I wish I had the bottle here. Well, I don't want to get up and go to the living room and get it. I'll show it to you next time. But so it's distilled from the hemp plant. It's perfectly legal in Oregon. I think it's also legal in other parts of the country because it's not psychoactive. Dorothy, you just gave your email address. Let me read it out loud. HughesDorothy88@gmail.com. Does that mean you were born in 1988, Dorothy? If so, you're young enough to be my grandchild. Exaggerating, of course. But I was born in 1949. Why? Yikes, 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 yikes. Oh, the year of the ox. Anyway, yeah, CBD oil. Has anyone ever used it for anxiety? It's really, really good. So I get up in the morning, take that, and go right back to sleep. Maybe some 3 a.m. wake-ups related to low blood sugar. Sometimes, maybe, says Kathleen. Well, if you have low blood sugar, it's really important to regulate it. So I would eat some protein before you go to bed, like sliced turkey, or if you're vegan, use tofu or hemp, or walnuts, which have a lot of omega-3s. By the way, someone asked about good food for the brain. Have you ever noticed that a half a walnut looks like the brain? Well, that shows that they have omega-3 fatty acids, which are really, really important. I want you all to do a Google search for omega-3 fatty acids and depression. You'll see how important these supplements are. This fatty acid is. You have to get it from food, and you must eat the right type of food. So sardines are my favorite. The only time I ever eat something that has a face and a mother is when I eat sardines. Otherwise, everything else is vegan, but they are rich in omega-3s. Not to do with the Celtic football team here in... Oh, it has to do with the Celtic football team in Glasgow. Why 88? Is that their nickname or something? By the way, in Europe, you call football what we call soccer. Isn't that interesting? Soccer is the most popular sport in the world, I guess. And the United States soccer team was just eliminated from the World Cup. Won't be going to the World Cup in next year since first time since '96 or something horrible. So please send sympathy to all of us Americans who are grieving the fact our soccer team is not going to the World Cup. Hey, it's 57 minutes and 22 seconds. My math says that's 2 minutes and 38 seconds left. Hi Doug, have you checked out Reddit depression before? It can be helpful because you don't feel so alone. Yes, that's a very good point. Reddit is a social media site, Reddit, and there's a whole forum there. Dorothy out there in the Great Britain, and Mamie, if you don't have support around you, go to Reddit. And so what happens? People just post stuff. I've never been there myself. I just know about it. And maybe when later today, when I have some free time, I'll go. But thank you for that suggestion. Connection. Oh, they were formed, Douglas. Okay, so the football team was formed in 1988. How are they doing? Are they as good as Manchester? I think that's another team, their soccer team in Manchester United. I think that's what it's called. I listen to the BBC every night before I go to bed, and they're always talking about Manchester United. They get all excited about it. Man, those Brits get really excited about soccer, I guess, like we do about baseball. By the way, does anybody know what the score of the World Series is? Hypothyroidism, depression. How to differentiate one from the other? Well, Andre, you can get a thyroid test, T3, a T4, and the TSC, thyroid stimulating hormone. Hypothyroidism is a cause in depression. So before you start taking antidepressants, anybody, you should check out what are called the organic causes, like low thyroid. 1898. Okay, sorry about that. I need better glasses, don't I? Hey, when I get my new computer, I won't have to look so hard. But yeah, low thyroid. There's a very, very famous author named Mary Ellen Copeland. She's written a lot of really good books. Mary Ellen Copeland on depression. She does workbooks, and she talked about how she suffered from depression for years and years and years, and then finally found out it was her low thyroid that was causing it. She could have saved herself a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of unnecessary antidepressant trials if she just checked her thyroid. So that's where I learned about it. So all of you who have depression and drugs are not helping, go get your thyroid checked. It's a very, very simple test. I'm actually getting it done later today, on Saturday, because one of the labs here is open on Saturday. and because I'm always curious, if that is contributing to my depression, because I do have ongoing dysthymia. I did a video called Dysthymic Living with Chronic Long-Term Depression, and so I have to use my tools every day. There are no days off. When you have depression and anxiety, there are no days off, my friends. You got to be vigilant and do your recovery plan every day. And if you do that, you can stay relatively healthy and have a pretty good life. 60 minutes exactly. We are at the end of our hour video chat. Thank you for the people who encouraged me to stay the extra 15 minutes. The next live video chat will be Sunday, October 29th at noon Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daylight Time. That's, I think, 8 o'clock Britain time. You're an inspiration, Cades. Thank you. Oh, remember, there's always Super Chat. Maybe before some of you hang up, you can click on that button. Those of you who can see it on your computers. Then John says, thank you, Douglas. Always good to hear from you. Mamie and Dorothy, Wanda. God, all these people from Adrian, where are you from, by the way? And Amanda, I'd like to know what countries you're from. But yeah, you guys in Great Britain and the United Kingdom, go ahead and start connecting with each other. My 3 steps of mental health recovery. 1, set the intention to heal. 2, reach out for support. And 3, treat your symptoms using a combination of mutually supportive treatments. Connecticut, I love Connecticut. My godson's wife comes from there. And thank you from Houston, Texas. Well, hey, go Astros in the World Series, even though they beat my Yankees. I will always root for the American League team. Well, in the immortal words of Ian Scholes from the Duck's Breath Mystery Theater, I gotta go. And thumbs up, says Kate, and we'll see you on Sunday. By the way, go to my channel anytime. I just published my 200th video in 5 years. That's amazing. I was able to do that even when I was going through my depressive episode. Somebody said, Thai, Connecticut, here, go. Well, anyway, I gotta go. See you later. And I'm gonna go to my iPad. I'm gonna point right here and hit the finish button. On your mark, get set, go, finish.